Okay, in our last lesson, we learned how to factor trinomials, and we learned that if you look at this last sign here, um, we look at the last number, this number 6. We looked at all the different ways we could get 6, and then we figured out if we were either A, adding, which would be plus, that means we are adding either positive, positive or negative, negative. And the way we determined that was by looking at this first sign, what we were adding. And if the last sign were minus, then it was just plus minus or minus plus. And the way we determine where to put the plus and the minus is by looking at this sign here. This sign tells us we want more positive or more negative. Okay. So today we're going to look at one last case, which are what we call special products. And the first thing you're going to notice about these is there's only two terms, right? So normally with the product like this, we would not be able to factor them, except for these are special. And what makes them special are these numbers at the end. And if we look at these numbers at the end, you'll notice that 36, 25, and 9 are all what we call perfect squares. 36 can be, we can get it by multiplying 6 times 6. 25 is 5 times 5. And 9 is 3 times 3. So when we see this, it gives us a clue that we may be looking at a special product. And the special product we're going to learn how to factor is called a squared minus b squared, the difference of two squares. And when we factor that, it's going to factor to a plus b times a minus b. Now that's a rule, and sometimes rules are confusing, so let's just apply it, and let's see how that works with these examples we have here. If we look at this first one, we notice it fits the pattern of a squared minus b squared, because 36 is a square and so is x. So we're going to write out our parentheses. So we know that x squared minus 36 can be factored to x plus 6 and x minus 6. Well, what happens to that middle number that we factored up here? What happens to this middle number? Well, when we have positive and negative of the same number, it basically cancels out. So there really is nothing in the middle. So another way to remember this would be to say this is really x squared plus 0x minus 36. And then we remember that we want to pick two numbers that multiply to give me 36 that also subtract to give me 0. So that's another way to remember it. These are the easiest type of problems to factor. So if we follow the rule, then the next one is going to be x plus 5, x minus 5. And the last one should be x plus 3 times x minus 3. I think I made a little mistake over here. 9 is 3 times 3. That's what makes it a perfect square. Okay. So those are perfect special products. We call the difference of two squares. And there's one more that you really don't have to learn. You could just learn how to factor it the way that we did before, but I'll show it to you anyway. It's called a perfect square. And if we review what x plus 5 quantity squared means, it means we're basically going to multiply this out twice. And then if we followed the rule for FOIL, this would come out to be, which we did earlier in the first lesson, this would be having my drawing issues that I have in the classroom sometime. X squared plus 5x plus another 5x plus 25. And in this case, we get a 10 in the middle because we added up two 5s. They didn't cancel each other out. So if we know that's the rule, we can look at this here and we can say, well, 36 is 6 times 6. And we know those two 6's add up to 12. So we could just say that has to be x minus 6, x minus 6, which is going to be x minus 6 squared. Now it's okay to leave it this way too. And you don't have to know the rule for this. This is what we call a perfect square. It's something you're going to see later when you get to Algebra 2 in your junior year, whenever you do take Algebra 2. But it certainly can be factored like these up here. You don't have to follow any specific rules for that. All right, so that's our lesson for today on special products. And I'm going to do one more lesson tomorrow on factoring when the number in front is not equal to 1. Thanks for watching.